In today's scientific age, many dismiss the possibility of miracles as primitive superstition. With the mapping of the human genome, atomic dissection, and telescopic views into distant galaxies, it's often claimed that science leaves no room for the supernatural. Carl Sagan once declared, "The cosmos is all that is, or ever was, or ever will be." Evangelist turned agnostic Charles Templeton insisted that it's time to abandon superstition and embrace reason. Richard Dawkins mocked biblical miracles, suggesting they appeal only to the unsophisticated and to children. And John Dominic Crossan bluntly stated, "I do not think that anyone, anywhere, at any time brings dead people back to life." The Jesus Seminar's book, The Five Gospels, argued that modern science, since Galileo, has swept away the old beliefs in deities and miracles. These statements directly challenge the Bible's claims that God has acted miraculously throughout history. In fact, the Bible begins with a miracle, God creating the universe out of nothing. And in the case of Jesus, his miracles were meant to confirm his divine identity. He openly stated, "Do not believe me unless I do what my Father does," in John 10, verse 37. The prophet Isaiah foretold that miracles would authenticate the Messiah. In Isaiah 35, verses 5 to 6, he described the blind seeing, the deaf hearing, and the lame leaping. Jesus fulfilled these signs, performing supernatural acts, healing the sick, turning water into wine, multiplying food, walking on water, and raising the dead. If God exists, it is not unreasonable to believe he can intervene in creation. Christians have long pointed to arguments for God's existence: cosmological, teleological, moral, and others. As Norman Geisler once said, "The only way to show that miracles are impossible is to disprove the existence of God, and no one has ever succeeded in doing that." The evidence that Jesus performed miracles, thereby validating his claim to be divine, can be examined through 6 key points. First is the reliability of the New Testament. The Gospels that record Jesus' miracles are grounded in eyewitness testimony, confirmed by archaeology, and preserved with care through the centuries. Historian Gary Habermas has cataloged 39 ancient sources outside the Bible that verify over 100 facts about Jesus' life, teachings, death, and resurrection. British New Testament scholar R.T. France pointed out that the Gospels should be taken seriously as historical records. He noted that acceptance of their supernatural content often depends more on one's worldview than on purely historical reasoning. Even ancient sources like the Q material, thought to predate Matthew and Luke, show awareness of Jesus' miracles. For instance, when John the Baptist's disciples asked Jesus if he was the Messiah, he pointed them to his miracles of healing and raising the dead as evidence, as recorded in Matthew 11 verses 2 to 6 and Luke 7 verses 18-23. The miracle of feeding 5,000 is present in all 4 Gospels: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. This gives multiple independent attestations. William Lane Craig emphasized that there's no trace of a non-miraculous Jesus in any historical source. Even the skeptical Jesus Seminar acknowledges 4 independent sources behind the Synoptic Gospels that portray Jesus as a miracle worker. Many critics, even skeptical ones, now admit that Jesus did perform miracles. While not all agree they were supernatural, they do accept the historical reality that Jesus was widely known as a miracle worker and exorcist. And the historical credibility of these miracle stories is strengthened even further when we examine the details included in the gospel accounts.